John Hook's Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Good evening and happy Saturday. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Christina Carilla in for John Hook. And tonight the show's a little bit different. We're not talking politics. I'm speaking to two influential people in the Arizona community working to create positive change, but in very different ways. Later we speak with an Arizona man who suffered burns to more than 80% of his body in a natural gas explosion. And now he's using that experience to help other burn survivors here in Arizona. But first, she's a Fulbright Scholar, Associate Dean for Research at the University of Arizona College of Veterinary Medicine, and her research on human-animal interaction, service animals, and animal-assisted intervention is what brings us here tonight. Dr. Maggie O'Haire, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's talk about it. At your lab down in Tucson at the U of A, you're collaborating with K9s for Warriors and K9 Companions, two groups that help place service dogs with veterans. When did this research all begin for you?
We have been working together with these organizations for about a decade now to try and put science behind the ways that veterans are interacting with service animals and how those service dogs can change their lives.
And is there anything else like this going on right now that you know of?
There are many groups around the globe who are starting to work on these topics of how animals enhance human lives and how we can really measure that. And with respect to veterans, there have been a few studies to date, but this will be one of the largest to track how having that dog changes their lives throughout the course of a one-year period.
Talk about the research. How did this come to be? Why is this important for you?
You know, we have had many veterans come to us and say things like, I would not be alive if it were not for my service dog. And although that's really compelling to me and to many others, unfortunately, when it comes to policy, to access, to insurance, to what clinicians will advise and recommend, they are looking for data. They're looking for the numbers behind that, for the percentage change and the points difference on different measures, not necessarily those stories. So our goal is to put the science behind the stories so that we can create change and support for these veterans.
Yeah, because what is the process like right now for getting a service dog? Is there something that you have to prove to have a doctor say, hey, maybe you should consider this, or is that even out there at all?
So there's a couple of points behind that. So the first, if someone wants a service dog, they can go online and apply. But what we know is that for many of our best organizations out there, the demand exceeds the supply. That means there are many more veterans that want or need a service dog than these organizations can provide dogs for. And that's because there hasn't been this data and this science behind it. So there isn't enough support and funding for the organizations. And because of that, from the day that someone says, I need a service dog, to the day that they get that dog, the wait list can be on average, 1 to 2 years. Throughout the pandemic, we saw that wait list rise to 5 years from the day they needed a dog to the day they had that dog. So there really is an issue of the supply and demand due to funding and a lack of science. Now, when it comes to clinicians, we also need that data because I've had so many clinicians come to me and say, someone came into my office and said, I need a service dog, and they want a letter. And if they came in for something else, if they had trouble seeing or a heart issue, I would look to the data and the science, and I would know what type of scan, what type of test, and then based on those results, what type of treatment. With a service animal, they don't have that. And so in many cases, they might turn that person away. They might give advice that isn't evidence-based, that isn't helpful. And, they may not know how to support that individual and what to expect because they don't have what they have for other medical areas.
Why do you think that is? Why is it taking so long to kind of realize that there is a link between animals and humans?
That's a great question as to why it's taken so long. Why don't we have that data already? I think there's a few reasons why we don't have that. And the first has been funding. Historically, this hasn't been an area that received funding. Drug trials and other areas of science are where the money is being targeted, not necessarily how an animal can change your life. And I think there's been a growing recognition that we need funding and resources to support that. And without those, we can't raise this to the level of rigor that we see other treatments. I think another reason we haven't seen the science yet is because for a long time, many people were happy enough with those sweet, warm, and fuzzy stories, and that got them this far. Unfortunately, to take it to the next step, science is needed. So I think we've kind of come as far as we can based off those warm and fuzzy stories, and it's truly time for the next step.
Talk about that interaction between the dogs and people. What is it that you're seeing?
We see so many fascinating things between these veterans and people and their dogs. And one of the interesting ones is that we tracked how much time they were spending together. So we put a little tracker on the person and the dog to see when they were together versus apart. And we found that veterans were with their service dogs 80% of the time. So that's about 20 hours per day. And if you think about it, I mean, who else in your life would you willingly spend 20 hours a day with? I'm not going to make anyone answer that right now, but I think that the answers would be slim. And just the fact that people want to spend this time with an animal is fascinating in and of itself. And beyond that time together, we're also seeing that they're using what are called trained tasks. So that's what makes a service animal what it is. You know, a companion animal, a pet, is fun and comforting, but isn't providing that trained task to help with your disability. A service dog is, and we're seeing that veterans are using those trained tasks around 18 times per day. And the most common task that they're using is to help calm and comfort their anxiety. So when they feel, for example, that they're about to have a panic attack, the dog might nudge them or provide an impetus, lick their hand or ask for a pet. And that helps center them back on the present moment. Or for example, many of our veterans will say, I couldn't leave my house. I can't go to the grocery store because there's all these aisles and I don't know who's going to come up around the aisle and startle me. But having a dog there, the dog can simply, if someone's coming up behind them, nudge them and let them know so that they don't have to have that fear of something that's about to happen and can comfort them through that day. So it's almost kind of the tip of the iceberg of understanding what these dogs are doing and how they can help the veterans. And we're able to see this in our initial studies.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they hear service dog, they think of, helping somebody who they're blind or something like that. But PTSD is something that you can't necessarily see with your eyes. And so I think it's really important to talk about how they help in that way. Don't you think?
I absolutely agree. It's so important to talk about because if we look at other service animals, they're typically with someone who has a visible disability, such as a wheelchair. For individuals with PTSD, that disability was previously invisible. And actually now that the dog is there, it's become visible. So one of the important things that we're finding is that some veterans are now receiving attention in ways that they weren't before. Previously, they could go through the grocery store and no one would notice them. But now with that dog, they get attention. A lot of it is positive in ways that connect them socially with their community. But sometimes we do find there's a public education element that's needed because that person might just be trying to buy their milk and 20 different people want to talk to them about their dog and many different things. And so we're finding that there is some education around supporting those individuals to have that accessibility, but not to intervene or interfere with their day-to-day activities just because we're excited about the dogs.
Yeah, do you think a part of it too, just anecdotally and speaking with veterans myself, many of them when they come back from a deployment or something like that, they're so used to that hypervigilance that they experienced in war times and how they had to be that way to survive. And when they come back here to civilian life, obviously it's really hard to live that way. But with a dog, you can relinquish some of that control.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up that hypervigilance because that's one of the things that we've actually seen physiologically in the studies. So for a person with PTSD, their stress response system is on overdrive. They have hypervigilance, and so we don't see the typical response patterns physiologically that we would see for a healthy adult that does not have PTSD. And in our studies, we were able to show that for someone who has a service dog compared to someone who doesn't, their stress response system is starting to behave in the way that a healthy adult's response system behaves again. So we see that through the stress hormone cortisol, that for those who have a service dog, it responds in ways as if they did not have PTSD for the first time.
That is incredible, just amazing. Where are you now in the research and what comes next?
In the research so far, so as I mentioned, we've been looking at this for almost a decade, and we've made it as far as we can with our small scale studies. And now it's time to ramp up for the largest study conducted to date on service dogs compared to treatment as usual. So we are conducting a national study with our service dog providers, K9s for Warriors and K9 Companions, where we will be able to randomize to a service dog or treatment as usual, and then follow them for a full year with that dog to see what it looks looks like, right? Some of the initial studies, you look at that honeymoon period or perhaps that stress period when you first get the dog and you have this large creature in your life that you didn't need to care for before. And so we'll be able to see what those peaks and valleys look like and how this stabilizes over a year and integrates with their life to finally have that robust data over time.
Wow. And then during that study, quickly, how do the veterans report to you? How do you follow up with the dogs? How does that work?
So we love working with our veterans, and we hope to make research as fun as possible. You know, we don't want to be another one of the trials out there that has a lot of boring and cumbersome things. Some of them they are, but my favorite part of my job is partnering with these veterans and their families and really giving them the space to tell us, what is this truly like? You know, what are the benefits? What are the challenges at every step of the way? So we do that in a few ways. We have a smartphone app that will ping them throughout their day. We love that because in a lot of research, someone will give you a long survey and ask you, over the past several months, how have you been feeling? I don't know about you, but if you tried to remember a month ago on Wednesday at 10:03 a.m., how did you feel? Who were you with? What were you doing? Hard to remember. So in this app, you can respond in the moment, how you're feeling, who you're with, what your dog's doing, and we can use that data to piece together a picture of your life over the course of a year. Other things that we are doing is actually measuring the dog as well. So we put something like a Fitbit on both the human and the dog so we can track their sleep and activity levels and see if they're walking more once they have the dog, how they're sleeping. Many of our veterans say, before my dog, I couldn't close my eyes to go to sleep because I knew I would be in a nightmare back to the worst thing that ever happened to me. And with my dog, I feel safe and I can go to sleep. So we'll be able to track that data through the wristband and the dog collar to see how they're sleeping. So these are a few of the ways that we do it, and we really partner over the course of the year to have different creative data points like that to share their stories.
Do you think that, before we go, I want to wrap up with this question. Do you think that in the short term, there could be an instance where a veteran goes to the doctor and maybe they're taking some medications to help with their PTSD, but this is something that can also be prescribed?
Absolutely. I think that what's critical to remember is that no one is suggesting that a service dog replace other treatments or evidence-based care. A service dog is intended to be a complement or an addition to other interventions. It's another tool in the toolkit. And so I think that for clinicians to be able to understand how that service dog can weave into what they're already working on and potentially enhance those goals, that's the goal here, is that we can work together to add this into the solutions that are already in play.
Wow, Dr. Maggie O'Haire, thanks so much for joining us tonight, and thanks for all you're doing for our veterans. We appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. We're back with more Newsmaker Saturday after this. And thanks again for watching Newsmaker Saturday. I really enjoyed chatting with Dr. O'Haire about the new research on veterans with PTSD and service dogs happening right here in Arizona. That research already changing lives, much like my next guest. Jason Nelson is a burn survivor. He suffered burns to more than 80% of his body, and now he uses that experience to help other burn survivors with the Arizona Burn Foundation and the Arizona Burn Center. Jason,
yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the hard stuff. February 9th, 2014. That was the day that everything changed for you in Gilbert. Can you take me back to that day and kind of explain what happened?
Sure. I was just in a rental house that I owned. My tenants had moved out, so I was there just replacing carpet and painting. And about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I decided to take a cigarette break. Went in the garage to smoke that cigarette. And when I lit the cigarette, there was an explosion. Kind of like a gas grill, how it, flames up.
Right. Basically
that with me in the middle of it. So I ended up being burned over 80% of my body in that explosion.
Third-degree burns?
Mostly third-degree burns, about 60% third-degree burns, down to the muscle in some areas.
Do you remember that moment? Do you remember kind of what happened? Do you remember anything from that? Or?
Yeah, I remember the majority of it. I remember lighting a cigarette. I remember thinking my hair was on fire and not knowing that there had been an explosion. I remember running out of the house, and luckily there was a neighbor that had heard the explosion and come running down the street and actually called 911 for me, and really just kind of kept my spirits up. He knew I had been burned pretty severely which I didn't know at the time. So I was happy to see someone there, as much shock as I was in.
Are you in pain when something like that happens, or is the shock take over, and are you kind of, do you feel anything?
I think for me, I didn't feel anything. I knew there was something wrong. I remember the skin on my hands kind of melting a little bit. It looked like a waxy, like a wax. So I knew I had been injured. I just didn't know how severely I had been injured. But like I said, I was conscious the majority of the time.
Wow. And they took you to the Arizona Burn Center?
Yeah, at Valley Wise. Yep.
So what did they do for you there?
Well, I know this now. I didn't know at the time, but was put in an induced coma for 6 weeks, just to kind of get through the initial shock of the accident. But I ended up spending almost 6 months at Valley Wise, going through dressing change and surgery every couple days, physical rehab, occupational rehab, a little bit of everything, really.
When you finally realized what had happened, what did you think at that point?
I remember it pretty vividly. And I was actually crying, sitting in the car with my wife, just saying I didn't want to be a burn survivor. I didn't want to deal with the pain any longer. I didn't want to deal with the physical therapy and the occupational therapy. I was just done.
Yeah.
And she really, kicked me in the butt and said, "This isn't a choice. You've got a family to, that's waiting for you to come back. So." Yeah. There's really no choice. You've got to get better.
Yeah. I do want to warn some viewers, the video that we're going to show you, the pictures are a bit graphic for people to see, but I think it's important to show just how badly injured you were.
Yes.
Burns to more than 80% of your body. You said you were in a coma, an induced coma, medically induced coma, to help heal. Mm-hmm. And what did they do for your wounds with the bandages and things? How do you heal wounds when you have them so severely to so much of your body?
Yeah, for me, I had grafts, skin grafts from mostly my thighs and legs, buttocks a little bit. That was transplanted really from there onto my burns that were on my arms, on my back. But then, the one thing burn survivors, I think, always talk about is dressing change, mm-hmm. Which is where they undress your bandages, scrub them clean, and rebandage you. And every burn survivor will never forget that experience. There's nothing like it in the world. There's not enough pain meds, I tell people, mm-hmm. To make that anything besides excruciating.
Yeah, and you said it took you a long time to actually look at these photos.
Yeah, it took me almost 4 years before I actually would look at a photo of myself in the burn center or any of my surgical photos. Mentally, I wasn't in a place I think I could have looked at them any sooner. It took me 4 years to kind of mentally prepare myself to look at what had happened, on that February day.
Yeah. You said you didn't want to be a burn survivor, but your wife, Tammy, kind of helped you there and
Yes.
helped you realize that you had some purpose here now.
Yes.
How long did it take? When did you finally realize, hey, I want to help the Arizona Burn Foundation? Because now you're on the board.
Yes. Yep. I'm on the board of directors for the Arizona Burn Foundation. I'm actually the board chair this year. And I knew I wanted to give back right away. Well, I shouldn't say right away. I knew I wanted to give back.
Yeah.
When I was ready. It happened to be 2 years is how long it took for me. But whether it was, supporting a new burn survivor going through a burn, helping raise funds for the Arizona Burn Foundation, doing anything I could to support, burn survivors going through the same thing I went through, to make their journey just a little bit easier than what mine was. I had a good recovery overall, I would say. And I want every burn survivor, whether they're a 10% burn or a big 80% burn, to feel the same kind of camaraderie I felt with people really pulling together for me.
Yeah.
And knowing I would come out better on the other end.
Yeah. Because you said it took a while for you to see those images and really come to grips with what had happened.
Yes.
We talked about before the show here the mirror thing. You're not seeing any mirrors when you're in the burn center, but at one point you did come across a mirror. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, there is no mirrors in the burn center on the first floor. I didn't actually see a mirror until the 7th floor when I was getting ready to be discharged, and it wasn't me. Is the easiest way to explain it. I was 40 to 50 pounds less, no beard, shaved head. It just, you just look in the mirror and go, that's not me. That's not who I was 6 months ago. That's not what I looked like 6 months ago. Yeah. It's a shock to the system.
There's a program called Camp Courage with the Arizona Burn Foundation.
Yes.
And it's to help burn survivors, kids, feel normal, right? Feel like a kid and have fun and explore their differences and feel okay with that. What is your message to them? Because I know that program just ended for this year and you were just there. So tell me about that. Yeah,
Camp Courage has been going on for, Arizona Burn Foundation has put it on for almost 33 years, and it takes children ages 6 to 16 and puts them with a group of other children who have experienced similar things. They all have scars, they all have stories to tell about their accident, but they all are children at heart, and they all would just want to get along and ride bikes and swim and have a good time. And that's what Camp Courage does. You're a burn survivor, but you're also a child. So we're not going to treat you any differently. We're just going to put you with children who have similar stories and similar situations to go through.
Yeah. What do they come away with when they leave that camp?
Oh, God, they come away with a lot. They come away with new friendships, and I think really the thing I see is they're not scared to show their scars. They realize it's a badge of honor in a certain aspect, and they're proud to be burn survivors. They're not timid. They've interacted with other children who have the same scars as they do. So they're definitely a lot better off, having come through camp.
Now that you've gone through all of this, you're helping people, you're sharing your story, and I'm sure these kids really look up to you, and you're an inspiration for them. If you could go back and redo that day and not have what happened happen, would you do that? Would you take it back?
That's a tough one. I've been asked that before, and I would tell you that my response has changed. In the beginning, I would never want anyone to deal with what I dealt with, and to have that pain and that kind of loss of hope. But today, hindsight's 20/20. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. I would do it again, to know that the outcome I've had and the impacts I've made and hopefully the helping of other people has made a difference in their lives.
And I'm sure it has. For people that want more information on how to get involved with the Arizona Burn Foundation, where do they go?
They can go online to Arizona Burn Foundation. azburn.org is a great place to start. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'd love to connect really anyone who has the want to help and to do something for their community. We'd love to have people associated with the Burn Foundation.
It's a great program. Jason Nelson, thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're back with more Newsmaker Saturday after this.